Hey everyone, it's Hero at MindWire, and today I'm going to be giving you a brief introduction to the Predictive Index Behavioral Assessment so that you can decode the human. What I want you to think about is knowing what drives you. One of the keys to success is understanding your own drives, needs, and behaviors, and we can use Predictive Index data to understand that, understand your strengths, how you're perceived by others, and your development opportunities. You can also use this data to find the same insights on people that you work with or your employees. But today I'll kind of just be focusing on self-reflection. So why do people behave as they do? We all have inherent drives, and those drives give us needs, which lead to behaviors, aka how we act at work or around others. For example, I have the drive to eat. I am hungry. It gives me a need. I need to go find food. So my behavior is that I'm going to go out to lunch and find a restaurant. Another behavior from the need of needing to eat could be packing my lunch every morning. Or another behavior could be calling in an order for delivery. So there are different behaviors that can stem from similar needs, but they all come from an inherent drive. And what PI is measuring is that drive so that we can predict the needs and behaviors of ourselves or of the people that we work with. So what does PI measure in the behavioral assessment? We measure 4 different drives, and we've labeled them A, B, C, and D. So A is the drive for dominance, the drive to exert influence on people or events. And remember, we're talking about your frame of work. So what is your drive for influence at work, needing to control outcomes on people or events or your scope of work? The B drive is extraversion, and it's more than just extraversion and introversion in the traditional sense. We're talking about social interaction as a way to get work done. Do you have a strong drive for interaction with others as a way that you process work, or do you have a low drive and you prefer to do work on your own? The C drive is patience or pace. It's the drive for consistency and stability. Do you have a strong drive for consistency and stability? You really prefer to be methodological and steady, or do you have a low drive and you prefer to be quick paced and have more variety in your day? The D drive is formality, or the drive to conform to rules and structure. Also, we can look at it as how strong of a drive you have to pay attention to those details, which are very structured and minute. Do you have a strong drive for that? You like to follow an exact order, or do you have a low drive? You prefer to be more flexible and kind of go with the wind. So we measure each of those 4 drives, and they show up on your predictive index assessment like this in this graph. So in this example, we can see the A, B, C, and D. And their midpoint is going to be the black triangle in the middle, which is an average expression of those 4 drives. So right in the center of everyone's graph is the midpoint or worldwide average. Anything to the right of the midpoint is going to be a high need or a strong drive for one of those 4 drives. Anything to the left of the midpoint is going to be a low need or a low drive for one of those 4 factors. We all have some drive for each of the 4 factors that we're measuring here. It's just how much do we have a high drive or a low drive? So in this example, this person has a high drive for dominance. That's going to lead them to be very independent. They have a drive to exert influence on people or events. For their B, they have a low drive for extroversion. So they do not have a strong drive to work with and through others as a way to process and do work. The C drive is also low. So they have a low drive for patience and stability. They can be patient and stable when they want to be, but naturally they are more of a driving pace. And then their D drive is to the right. So they have a high drive or need for formality, structure, and rules. So that's how we're measuring the 4 drives when looking at your graphs. And we'll go into each of these in detail. So let's talk about dominance, the drive to exert influence on people or events. Again, we all have some level of this. It's just, are you higher or lower? Do you tend to be more independent and outcome oriented or more collaborative in your daily work style? So if you're on the right side of the graph for your A, you have a high drive for dominance. You have a need to make an impact and leave a thumbprint. These people tend to be much more competitive, very outcome-oriented, very assertive, and kind of independent in the way that they make decisions. They are going to be really high in how they think about the work in terms of outcomes and getting things done the way that they want to get them done. Again, it's kind of about control. If you're on the left side, you have low A or low dominance. Doesn't mean you have no dominance and you can't be assertive, but you have more of a need to be collaborative. So you have less need to be assertive and more of a need to be collaborative. This leads to behaviors that are very cooperative, harmony-seeking, accommodating, agreeable, very much a team player. For the B drive of extroversion, remember, we're talking about how you get work done. So it's not how many friends do you have, or do you like to go to happy hour or virtual happy hour, but it's what drive is satiating you to get work done. Is it talking out loud with and through others, or is it independently, introspectively? So on the high side, if your B is on the right of your graph, you have a need to talk things out, work with and through others. You'll often hear high Bs saying, I'm just thinking out loud here. They love to brainstorm. They're great in team meetings because they like to chat, and that's how they process information. This leads to behaviors of being perceived as really outgoing, enthusiastic, gregarious, often very good at connecting with others quickly. Now, if you're on the low side, if you have B on the left of your graph, you need more time to think it through. You don't talk things out loud, you think inside your head. So you tend to be more introspective, analytical, and reflective. This doesn't mean that you're not friendly, you can't make friends or connections, but when it comes to how you get the work done, you get it done in your head, and you don't need to bounce around ideas. You want to do that introspectively before bringing it to the group. The C drive is patience. And remember, you can think about it as pace as well. Are you more steady or more driving? So if your patience, your C is on the right of your graph, you have a need for stability and you want freedom from changing priorities. You really prefer when things are consistent. That helps you get your best work done. So this leads to behaviors such as being patient, calm, steady, and high C people are naturally excellent listeners because that is how their brain works. They're steady and consistent, and they think things through. On the low side, if your C is on the left of your graph, you have a need for variety and you want freedom from repetition. So while the high Cs really like repetition and being able to get better at something by doing it over and over, the low C prefers to stay away from repetition and really likes variety. They like to change things up. They like to go fast. They're often very driving. So the low C leads to behaviors such as being perceived as intense and fast-paced, not necessarily a natural listener because you're listening for action, right? You're really interested in the next step. The D is formality. So it's the drive to conform to rules and structure. The high D on the right side really needs structure, clarity, and they want freedom from risk or error. When they approach work, they're going to be very serious, precise, and organized. This is not talking about your sense of humor, and if you're a fun person to be around, this is talking about how you get work done. So if your D is on the right, you prefer to do work in a very organized manner. If your D is on the left, you need more flexibility and opportunities to delegate those details. It's more of a we'll cross that bridge when we come to it kind of thought process, as opposed to a high D really likes to have the guidebook and expectations ahead of time before starting a project or a task. The low D tends to be much more informal, flexible, and can even be kind of non-conforming in a way of rules are great for other people, but I like to figure out how to do work that works for me in my own way. So there are pros and cons to all of these, and they are all a great way to understand your own strengths. So what we want you to do, if you haven't already read your behavioral report, go ahead and read through that description and summary and really seek to find out what are the strengths based on your own drives, needs, and behaviors. Thank you.